Electric vehicle battery maker CATL signs an MOU to set up its international headquarters and R&D center in Hong Kong. President Xi Jinping meets EU leaders in Beijing. And the UN Secretary General invokes a UN Charter article to push for a ceasefire in Gaza. Hello and welcome to TVB News. The world's largest battery maker for electric vehicles will set up its international headquarters as well as a research and development center in Hong Kong. Contemporary Amperex Technology, or CATL, said the SAR was chosen because of the city's robust intellectual property protection system and its free flow of talent and information. Jackie Lin with our top story.
In the presence of senior SAR officials, CATL signed a Memorandum of Understanding to establish its international headquarters and research and development center here in Hong Kong. Founded in 2011, Fujian-based CATL is the world's largest battery maker, accounting for 37% of the world's battery market for electric vehicles, supplying major car makers including Tesla, BMW, and Nissan Motor. Boasting more than 20,000 patented products, CATL said it is attracted by Hong Kong's comprehensive mechanism of protection for intellectual property. Its founder and chairman Robin Zeng Yu-chun said, under the current complex geopolitical environment, patent licensing would offer a good business model to earn service fees from companies such as U.S. car giant Ford. Financial Secretary Paul Chan said the administration will provide relevant support to CATL's work in Hong Kong, which will also help promote the development of innovation and technology in the SAR. CATL is set to hire more than 500 workers in Hong Kong, with investment going upwards of 1 billion Hong Kong dollars. Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry Sun Dong revealed Chief Executive John Lee, Financial Secretary Paul Chan, and Sun himself all took part in lobbying CATL to set up its international headquarters in Hong Kong. Professor Terence Chong, an academic in economics, said the move is welcome news to the city.
We can attract the eyeballs of the world, and also we can introduce a lot of talents and technology to come to Hong Kong. And that is something that we haven't been able to do in the past.
He estimated CATL's patent income could help generate some $150 million in tax revenue for the SAR. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
The two-day Future Investment Initiative Priority Summit got underway at the Hong Kong Exchange Connect Hall today. The governor of Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, Yasir Al-Rumayyan, said Hong Kong was chosen to host the summit because of its global status as a trade and innovation hub.
Hong Kong is basically the international gate city and a trade and hub, and also innovation hub.
Chief Executive John Lee, who was at the event, said the city's strengths, such as, quote, a free flow of capital and information, will be useful in shaping global megatrends in areas such as finance and innovation. With some 300,000 land leases set to expire by 2047, the government has announced it will speed up the lease renewal process. Extension declined will be announced in one batch by the government. National security factors will be considered. The new mechanism will be gazetted tomorrow. Jackie Lin reports.
Most lands in Hong Kong are subject to the clauses of land leases. Upon expiry, applications for extension with the government are required. Between June 2025 and June 2047, some 2,400 lots of land will have their leases expired. 300,000 land leases will expire on June 30th, 2047, 50 years after the 1997 handover, involving more than 1.5 million landowners. With that, the government said it will be difficult to execute the renewal process under the current lease-by-lease method. Notices will be made in a gazette instead. Under it, the government will list the land leases not granted renewal. That means those not on the list will be granted a new lease of 50 years without the need to pay land premium. But landowners would have to pay rent amounting to around 3% of the rateable value of the land involved. The government will issue the gazette notices no less than 6 years before the land lease expires. As to whether Red Hill Peninsula, which recently saw multiple illegal construction scandals would be affected. The Development Bureau said if the owners are cooperative in investigations, renewals would likely be granted. Authorities admit national security considerations would be included in approving the renewal. Currently, fewer than 10 plots of land and around 100 land leases belong to consular bodies or representative offices of international organizations. The lease extension of these properties should be approved by the Office of the Commissioner of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Hong Kong. At least 60 days before their lease expires, these bodies should apply for lease renewal to the Commissioner's office and no appeal will be accepted. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
President Xi Jinping held talks on an array of issues with top European Union officials in Beijing today, expressing hopes that mutually beneficial ties between China and the bloc could be enhanced. The two EU leaders are in the Chinese capital for the 24th ChinaEU Summit, which is being held in person for the first time since 2019. Daniel Rao tells us more.
President Xi Jinping held wide-ranging talks with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European Council President Charles Michel in Beijing today. The Chinese leader told the delegation that China and the EU have the responsibility to work together to provide more stability for the world, more impetus for development, and more guidance and support for global governance. He added China and the EU should be partners in mutually beneficial cooperation, continuously enhance political mutual trust, eliminate all kinds of interference and strengthen dialogue and cooperation for the benefit of the two sides. Xi also said China is willing to make the European Union a key economic and trade partner and to cooperate on science and technology, including artificial intelligence. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen told Xi that China is the EU's most important trading partner, but there are clear imbalances and differences that must be addressed. She said both China and the European Union recognize the importance of de-risking and strengthening the resilience of their economies. Von der Leyen also highlighted Brussels and Beijing's commitment to finding solutions to global challenges, including the ongoing conflicts in Ukraine and in Gaza.
We have a shared interest in peace and security, in the effective functioning of the rules-based international order, and to find solutions to global challenges. And this is why it is essential to put an end to the Russian aggression against Ukraine and establish a just and lasting peace consistent with the UN Charter. And in the same vein, to do everything possible to work for a two-state solution in the Middle East.
European Council President Charles Michel raised Brussels' concerns about what he called increasing tensions in the Taiwan Strait and the South China Sea. However, he stressed the EU continues to recognize the One China policy. The EU officials are also meeting Premier Li Qiang on their one-day visit. Daniel, TV News.
Italian media reported that the country has officially informed China that it is leaving the Belt and Road Initiative. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni had previously signaled Italy's intention to withdraw from the agreement, which expires in March 2024. A letter with the formal notice had reportedly been delivered to Beijing in recent days. Meloni's office declined to comment on the report. Italy became the first G7 country to sign on to the initiative in 2019 as a way of increasing trade with China. However, Italy said its trade deficit with China has ballooned from 20 billion euros to 48 billion euros. More than 100 countries have signed agreements with China to cooperate on the Global Infrastructure Initiative. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has invoked Article 99 of the UN Charter for the first time. He's urging the Security Council to, quote, avert a humanitarian catastrophe, saying without a ceasefire, Gaza could collapse beyond repair and threaten international peace and security. This as Israeli forces continue to push south in the Gaza Strip and target Hamas in Khan Yunis. David Garrett reports.
The rarely used Article 99 invoked by UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. In a letter to the President of the Security Council, he urged the United Nations' most powerful group to act.
This is the first time that Antonio Guterres has done this since he became Secretary-General in 2017. Article 99 states, and I quote, that the Secretary-General may bring to the attention of the Security Council any matter in his opinion that may threaten the maintenance of international peace and security. In the letter, which has been shared with you, the Secretary General urges the members of the Security Council to press to avert a humanitarian catastrophe, and he appeals for a humanitarian ceasefire.
Gutierrez addresses the Council this week and will urge them to work for a ceasefire. Israel's UN ambassador said the Secretary-General's actions were a new low and showed bias against Israel. The 22-nation Arab group backs a ceasefire, and diplomats were fine-tuning a draft resolution.
On top of the agenda is this war has to stop, a ceasefire has to take place.
This suggests the war is intensifying rather than stopping. An Israeli airstrike in built-up Khan Yunis, the biggest city in the south of the Gaza Strip. On the ground, there appears little to stop Israel's military. The IDF released video of their forces in the heart of Khan Yunis. Israel's government is targeting Hamas leaders there. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said troops were encircling the house of Yahya Sinwar, adding they will get him. Thousands more Palestinians have been displaced. Many are wounded. 11-year-old Saba searches a hospital in the east of Khan Yunis for her father. She's joined by her two siblings as they all try to find him. Their father, Mohammed, is brought out on a stretcher and the family rush to him. Soon they are in tears. Doctors tell the children the injury is not too bad and they will fix his leg. Mohammed's son, Amir, said he was playing, then he heard a boom and ran, and he was hit by rocks. The same thing was happening at other hospitals. This is a clinic in Rafah, even further south. Doctors worked in awful conditions with makeshift beds. Intense fighting has blocked the distribution of water and medicine. It is this worsening plight of civilians that has prompted the UN chief to act. David Garrett, TVB News.
The UK's plan to send migrants to Rwanda has run into more difficulty after the Minister for Immigration resigned. He says the new treaty does not go far enough. Robert Jenrick quit hours after the new treaty was signed. The original plan had been ruled illegal by the UK Supreme Court. The government says a new treaty with Rwanda will satisfy legal challenges, beef up powers, and speed up the process. Robert Jenrick disagreed. He says it is too weak and quit the government. Jenrick says the treaty, quote, will not stop the boats. Thousands travel to Britain in small vessels to seek asylum every year. The former Home Secretary has also launched an attack on Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Recently sacked, Suella Braverman told Parliament the Conservatives have to find a way to bypass the courts or her party would face election oblivion. The opposition has also criticized the policy.
When we send people there under this treaty, we have to pay for their accommodation and their upkeep for 5 years. And that's not all. This morning, a government minister admitted that anyone we send to Rwanda who commits a crime can be returned to us.
This about is ensuring that the concerns of the Supreme Court have all been addressed in a legally binding treaty that will allow us to operationalise the scheme. But I'm glad he raised the topic of legal migration, which I agree is absolutely far too high, Madam Deputy Speaker. That's why this week we've outlined a plan bigger than any other government before to reduce the levels of legal migration.
Still ahead, activist Agnes Chow claims she received 2 calls from National Security Police earlier this year after arriving in Toronto for further studies. Former U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Kevin McCarthy will leave Congress at the end of the year. Welcome back to TVB News. Former student activist Agnes Chow has claimed to have received 2 calls from the National Security Police in September and October after she arrived in Toronto to begin university studies. Chow is now a fugitive after announcing she will not return to Hong Kong from Canada to meet her bail conditions. Mimo Singhai reports.
On Sunday, former activist Agnes Chow announced her self-exile on social media. She will not return to Hong Kong by the end of this month to meet her bail conditions. After her announcement, Chow appeared in interviews with foreign media outlets, including TV Tokyo and the Associated Press. In an interview, the former activist stressed that it was her decision to jump bail.
I decided not to go back to Hong Kong myself. No one told me or no one taught me what decision should I make. We could clearly see that the national security law has become a political tool to the authority to make up accusations and to intimidate political dissidents.
Chow also mentioned she received 2 calls from the National Security Police in September and October after she arrived in Toronto to begin university studies. Chow described the feeling as her being watched under their eyes. Chief Secretary for Administration Eric Chan criticized Chow's behavior as shameful on Thursday. Chan said the national security law protects the majority of people and only targets those who break the law. Mingmus 9, TVB News.
Tang Ying No, the sister-in-law of Lee Cheuk-yan, the former chief executive of the now-defunct Hong Kong Confederation of Trade Unions, pleaded guilty today to perverting the course of justice. In March, the 63-year-old defendant was accused of removing a laptop computer and a cell phone from her sister Tang Ying No's home, which were pieces of evidence in Tang Ying No's national security case. Magistrate Patrick Chung said a jail sentence is inevitable as the case is serious because the defendant visited her sister's apartment twice, suggesting her actions were premeditated. Tang will be sentenced on December 21st. Ousted U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has announced that he will leave Congress at the end of this year. McCarthy had risen through state and national politics to become second in line to the presidency as Speaker until hard-right conservatives engineered his removal in October. While he represents a safely Republican California district, McCarthy's departure will further narrow the Republicans' already slim 221 to 213 majority in the House. His move came with Congress struggling to move forward on a raft of critically important legislation. This includes fiscal 2024 spending bills that Congress must adopt by January 19th to avert a partial government shutdown. The current House Speaker, Mike Johnson, succeeded McCarthy in late October after weeks of bitter Republican infighting. Johnson, a Christian conservative with relatively little leadership experience, is facing an increasingly tough task to find a consensus. A gunman killed 3 people and critically wounded a 4th at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas on Wednesday before being shot dead by police. Reports of gunshots at about 11:45 a.m. local time sent police swarming onto the campus while students and professors barricaded themselves inside classrooms and dorm rooms. Campus Police Chief Adam Garcia, his officers, and local police rushed to a building housing the university's Lee Business School, where 2 detectives killed the suspect during a shootout. Authorities gave the all-clear about 40 minutes after the first report of an active shooter. No additional details have so far been released about the shootings, the victims, the suspect, or a possible motive. The shooting occurred in a city still scarred by one of the worst mass killings in U.S. history. On October 1st, 2017, a gunman opened fire on a country music concert crowd from a 32nd floor hotel room, killing 60 people and wounding hundreds more. And that is the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.